Please go check that out. It was an absolute clinic. Dr. Croom was phenomenal, left nothing on the field and gave it all away, guys. And yesterday I did a breakdown of how you actually move revenue through your business into the profitability, into the equity, and then extract that equity and turn it into net worth for your family so you can expand that net worth and increase your financial freedom. So yesterday was also a very insightful call. And today, as you can see, I am accompanied by some man, I didn't even know which word I wanted to use. I wanted to say extraordinary and phenomenal at the same time, but it didn't come out that way. But that's what they are. They're extraordinarily phenomenal people. And we're going to do a very beautiful and brief intro. But before I let them introduce themselves, I want to tell you a little bit about my experience with them so you all know that you are in good hands. So Dr. Croom and I have been working together for quite some time. She is a visionary, an entrepreneur in every sense of the word, and an extraordinary leader in the veterinary space. You can expect to get a wealth of information from her with compassion, humble leadership, as well as this overall integrity. So please pay attention to the words. There are nuggets in the details, gifts in the details. Dr. Michelle D. Clark, another phenomenal colleague of mine. We're in a coaching community together when we initially met, and since then we've just seen each other grow tremendously. And when I say exponential growth, that's what you will get from Dr. Michelle D. Clark, a super resilient woman, a very powerful speaker, and a phenomenal individual in her own right, as you see what she is doing on her platform. So please check her out. And then we have Sven. Man, Sven has given me some phenomenal conversation over the past year about what it takes to really build businesses, scale businesses, and connect organizations as we talk about how far we can really expand something. And when I say expand something, I mean serial entrepreneurship. I mean, what does it look like to connect people, to exit businesses, and to move those businesses through the economy? And that's a very surgical procedure. So please pay attention to him and his wealth of knowledge in being in the construction space, seeing what it looks like to be in partnerships, what it looks like to scale businesses, grow businesses, connect different people with businesses, the due diligence process. There is a wealth of knowledge and information on this call this morning. And we have Paul with us as well, but he may be back on the platform. I do expect technical difficulties because we're about to do something great, and that's just expected. So with no further ado, please, Dr. Croom, if you could introduce yourself to the people, and we will move forward to Dr. Michelle D. Clark, then Sven, then Paul, and once more to the audience, I'll let you guys know exactly who I am. Please take us away, Dr. C.
All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Jackson, and thank you for allowing me to be here and join you. Everyone, my name is Dr. Chinera Croom, and I am a retired Army veterinarian who served in the Veterinary Corps, and I continue to serve my country by, in this past 20 years since I have been out of the military, as a holistic veterinary expert. This is what I love. This is what I love to do. I love to help animals and, in essence, help people. So, what I do is I provide convenient video veterinary appointments here in Michigan, as well as access to my line of high quality pet supplements. In addition to those pet services and products, I've also created a unique and exciting mentorship program for future veterinarians. This is, my passion project here. Been working on it for several years, and it allows pre-veterinary interns to work for me directly and receive mentorship to help them, bulk up their resumes. So it can be difficult for them to find um, access to opportunities in their cities. And so the virtual aspect allows them to work directly with a decorated Army officer who worked in the military, as well as several other specialties of veterinary medicine. So I'm really, really excited to be here. This program allows me to just pour into the next generation of veterinarians, which is super important these days. So glad to be here with you.
Wow. Thank you, Dr. Croom. Dr. Michelle D. Clark.
Yes, good day, everybody. And thank you so much, Mr. Jackson, for having me on this Wealth Symposium Day 3. executive panel. So very happy and grateful to be here today and to be in front of you all, the audience members. So my name is Dr. Michelle D. Clark, and I am the CEO and founder of Lift After Breast Cancer, which Lift stands for Living Inspired Free and Transformed. And, just to get to know me a little bit, I'm really just a small town girl with big time dreams who God has definitely shown his grace and his mercy, and he has saved me from some life threatening things. And when I talk about small town, I'm talking about Harvey. And most folks, Bobby, they don't even know where Harvey is, but it's near the south side of Chicago. Everybody does know Chicago, and you definitely don't have to be a reporter on America's Most Wanted to know what was going on in Chicago, and still, unfortunately, is going on in Chicago. But when I was growing up, people were like thugging and drugging and stealing and killing. And fortunately, I was not a part of that, and nor was I personally impacted by that. My parents raised me well. And because of that, I got my bachelor's in psychology, my master's in social work, and I've been recognized for a PhD in entrepreneurship and business administration. And so, with those things, I've been able to speak to audiences and empower women. I've also had courses and symposiums of my own. And now, with the new birth of Lift After Breast Cancer LLC, as you may know, I am also a stage 2 breast cancer survivor. And through my journey, I realized that I wish I had somebody who could have been there for me during my time and thereafter. Because as high performing women, once we are done with the diagnosis, if you will, it's still not done with us. So there's a lot of adjusting and readjusting we have to do with ourselves mentally, physically, emotionally. So because of that need in the marketplace, I thought it was only not thought, I felt. So not thought, I felt it was only right for me to hold that responsibility to now reach back and help other women after the epiphanies that I received through the course of my journey, my personal journey with breast cancer. And so that's where Lift Nation, Lift After. I do have a company, Lift Nation. I also have Lift Life Coaching Solutions and Lift Life Counseling Solutions because, again, I'm a mental health therapist. So I do function still in that capacity. But for Lift After Breast Cancer, I felt it was my duty to now reach back and help other women to be that person, that beacon of light that I wish that I had when I was going through my journey thereafter breast cancer. So I started the company. We also have a newsletter. So I don't know if we're ready for that yet, but we can put that in the comment section to get that link going for those of you who would like to stay connected there and learn more about Lift After Breast Cancer. And we will have a retreat coming down the pipeline in 2024. So it's right around the corner. So super excited about being impactful in this space now since I have embraced my diagnosis and understand it doesn't define me, it has refined me. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, man. When I told you guys, phenomenal people on the call, phenomenal people from military service to overcoming all types of life-threatening things. And Sven, please introduce yourself. Let us know exactly what you do and who you are.
All right. Yeah, thank you, Bobby. And it's a pleasure to be on here at the early hour, and nice to follow you two accomplished people. It's very impressive stuff. I joke that I'm a, how should I say, college dropout with an addiction for entrepreneurialism. I started my entrepreneurial journey when I was a teenager, and I'm not sure exactly why, other than I guess I was too sort of proud or stubborn to be a good employee. So I started my journey young, and I've zooming forward, I'm in my mid 50s, and I've got about 37 or 38 years of riding the roller coaster of entrepreneurialism, and having started many companies, mainly in the construction industry, from contracting, general contracting, architecture design, real estate development, so forth. I've got a lot of stripes and a lot of experiences along the way that some I learned the hard way, and some of those businesses I started worked great, and some of them crashed and burned. And I think I learned more from the ones that didn't work than the ones that did work. And kind of my career has kind of been a little bit of an arc of arrogance and pride at the beginning, and I didn't really want to take any advice from anybody, and I thought I knew it all. And then life kind of, kicks you in the chops a little bit, and you figure out that maybe it's smarter to learn from other people's experience a little bit rather than, experience them all yourself. So later in life here, I've tried to do that as a business person, and the business world, the entrepreneurial world, is a very varied industry. It's sort of it's a risk thing. It's a high risk, high reward, high work and you got to be all in. You can't put your toe in and expect to succeed. You got to jump in the deep end, you sink or swim, and you gotta put your heart into it. So it's been quite a journey. And right now, I'm actually at the stage of my life where rather than go start another company, I'm into the business of buying companies. And there's a whole raft, a big industry of baby boomers that are retiring right now. So have bought one company. I'm actually in the process of buying a couple more, and actually trying to help other people buy also. That's another role I'm in, trying to help other people succeed in the entrepreneurial world. And that's been a real fun way to kind of give back to people that are just as crazy as me, I guess. So it's been a fun journey, and looking forward to helping a lot of other people jump into the world and be successful in the entrepreneurial business also.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. Guys, please share this out if you're watching this, and let someone else get in on the action, because we don't want to be selfish. We don't want to get all of this wealth of information and not share it out with other like-minded and developing and scaling business owners. All right. So make sure we do that. We help out the individuals that we know could benefit from this. But guys, like, just from the first three speakers, I know you see the wealth of information here, but we're going to let Mr. Paul Barrow go in and talk about what he does, how he has developed as an entrepreneur, and before we get into the actual show and the content today, and before I introduce myself and we go a little bit further. But please, Paul, take it away. Let the people know who you are, what you do, and how you got into business.
Yeah, so can y'all can hear me, because I was having some technical difficulties.
Yes, sir. You're coming through clear on my end.
All right, perfect. Yeah, so my name is Paul Barrow. I graduated from the Art Institute of Washington for advertising and marketing. And the reason I got into the business was because I wanted to help business owners with their messaging and with their branding. But what I came to realize was that a lot of business owners, they needed more help with their systems and processes. So I had to make a couple of adjustments in my business in order to provide them with better solutions. Because what I was coming across was a lot of businesses, they go out of business pretty fast. So they needed better, like, it didn't matter how good the logo looked or how good the website looked or how good the promotion looked. If they didn't have a good back-end system with the right processes and systems, then they would go out of business pretty quickly. So, I made a couple of adjustments, and I decided to start a software company. So it helps them manage their customers. It helps them manage all their marketing in one place so they can have better results. So, that's where I'm kind of at right now at the moment. I'm just focusing on just helping businesses scale to the next level in order for them to be more competitive in the industry.
Wow, man. I feel like we're already going to have a diverse conversation. Like, we have everyone from the medical space and veterinary space, military officer space, to the construction space, serial entrepreneurial space, acquisition space, and then we've got cancer survivor, speaker, coach, and mentorship space, as well as the marketing and executive development branding system space. Like, my goodness, a lot of information here, a lot of information. Now, for those of you all that do not know me or that are seeing me for the first time, my name is Bobby Jackson. You could also refer to me as Bobby Stealth, the Stealth Wealth Strategist. And I have been a CFO for 3 years now in that capacity, helping other business owners take their business to the next level by maximizing their revenue, optimizing profitability, and actually using the equity in their businesses to build and scale their net worth so that they can enjoy the financial freedom that comes with being a successful business owner. And what we're doing today, ladies and gentlemen, is for you. This is your platform. So do not be afraid to ask questions in the comment section, to put flames and all types of things in the chat to let us know what's connecting with you, because I think we're going to do this again throughout 2024. And the better we get at providing you this type of value, the better we will get at structuring these for you. So again, we're about to dive right into it. No particular order. We can kind of just jump out at these questions. But the first question that I have for the panel is, as a leader, executive, and business owner, how have you grown? And in 2023, what were some of those defining moments or learning moments that you really changed you as a business owner this year? So who'd like to take that one first?
I can start. Oh, go ahead, Dr. Croom.
Either one of us would be just fine, Doc. I'll just go quickly. I have just a little nugget to throw out there as far as 2023. How I really expanded and grew was through the procurement and growth of my team here at Steadfast International. Being a veterinary company, um, you got to really have those core values laid out. That's what I would say is necessary in order to really get that team going. Now, if you're an entrepreneur, you already know it's usually you doing everything when you first start. You do the marketing, you're creating ads, you're going live, you're doing the actual services, and then at one point you're like, okay, I've got to start delegating. And that's really what happened strongly for Steadfast International in 2023. I led with my core values, which are compassion, humble leadership, and integrity. And this is how I was able to discern those people that would really work well on my team. Everybody doesn't work well with animals or the people that love them. You've got to have a certain kind of compassion. You can't be, answering the phone with an attitude or not having the compassion of someone whose pet is going, who's about to pass away, and not realizing that they may snap a little bit or they may just be, not themselves. This is super important for this type of industry. And so my team, I have been, like I said, the high discernment has allowed me to really see people for who they are and know if they're going to mesh well with the Steadfast team. So that's what I would say. Lock in those core values, know what your mission is so that those teammates can start to have delegation. And then when you find those right people, they're going to love to take that baton from you. They're going to want to take that heat off of you and that pressure off of you. A new person that I've added to my team recently, Miss Kayla, she routinely lets me know, hey, Doc, you don't need to be doing that. Like, let me do that. Let me take that off your plate. That is one of the best feelings in the world as a CEO. So my advice is to get those core values together and build that team.
Wow. Wow. And before I pass this question to the next speaker, and I think just to keep it flowing, I will make an order. So I'll do Dr. C, Dr. Michelle, Sven, Paul, and me. And in between speakers, I'll just bring it together. I'll just connect it. But that'll be a good rotation for us. But as a connecting piece, as we go to Dr. Michelle, guys, these are normal people just like you, just like me. And that's what I think is so phenomenal about this. Like, none of us are sitting in the Burj Khalifa somewhere. None of us are on the beach right now with Mai Tai glasses. We could be, but we're not. We're in our offices and we're up early in the morning and we're talking about the development in our businesses. So again, if you're at that stage in your business where you're scaling, growing, and you don't know why things aren't scaling for you, take a look at your team. Take a look at your team. Dr. Michelle D. Clark.
Yep. So, Bobby, one of the things that I think resonated and I learned the most this year was more actually about myself and the breast cancer journey. As I stated in my opening, that I lived after breast cancer actually just in October. So little over 2 months ago, on October 10th, was when I lived after breast cancer. And what happened is I was able to pause in my pain. So I had a surgery that was scheduled on March 23rd of this year, another part of my breast reconstruction surgery, which for those of us who've had a mastectomy, we have a choice as to whether or not we want to reconstruct or not. That was always my choice from the beginning. But there were several delays because I had other critical illnesses that I had to tend to in the past. And then, of course, COVID hit in 2019. And thereafter, we were able to schedule the next surgery. Well, that surgery was on March 23rd, but it never happened. It was a non-surgery, is kind of what I call it now. And during that non-surgery, I actually was in the room for surgery. I had my cap and gown on, so no, not the cap and gown to graduate as far as from school, but to graduate on the other side of surgery. Well, never graduated because on that same day, my surgery was canceled. They stated that I did not pass one of the health requirements, and they told me I had to leave. And it was very devastating to me, Bobby. You know, I didn't know really what to do other than just, of course, collect my things and leave. Rescheduled the surgery for May 11th. Didn't happen because unfortunately 10 days prior to the surgery I came down with COVID. Caught it from my kids. So yeah, I know, right? It's like, what? So I really had to do some introspection. And so as a business owner, and even just as, you know, just Michelle D. Clark. So take the doctor off, take the entrepreneurship off. But as a person, as a mom, it was just like, okay, what is really going on? I had to find out, why was Murphy's Law playing out in my life in live stereo, right? And what I realized when I was able to pause in that pain, because again, as high performing women, as high performing entrepreneurs, we're running all over the place. We're doing a lot of different things. I know Dr. Croom talked about how she even has somebody on her staff who's like, you know, hey, Dr. Croom, you don't need to be doing that. Well, we do, because we're doers. But what it helped me to do, as far as the surgeries being removed, was it gave me an opportunity to pause in my pain, not get stuck in it, but pause in the pain so I could figure out the purpose and then start running with passion. And that's exactly what happened, is that I was able to do some introspection of myself, of my life. What is it that I need? What is it that others may need? And then that's how Lift After Breast Cancer was birthed. Again, as I stated in the opening, I wanted to be that beacon of light for other women who are going through the similar type of circumstances, that after you've had breast cancer, after you've recovered from breast cancer, now what? And this is the now what. We literally have to, not only if we choose to reconstruct our bodies, we now have to reconstruct our life, a new norm. And so those are the epiphanies that I gained throughout the process of 2023. 2023, I almost it should have been like 2020, not in the sense of COVID, but in a sense of getting a new vision, right? So 2023 helped me with that new vision and prioritize my life, prioritize what's important in my life. And
Yeah.
also now, how can I structure that to help others?
You know, guys, if you guys really heard what I heard the story of resiliency, the story of tenacity, the story of it's not over until I win. That's the way Les Brown puts it. It's not over until I win. And what's beautiful about this, guys, is where are you at? Take a moment to assess yourself. Was 2023 a hard year for you? Because it was a hard year for a lot of people. I had several clients, unfortunately, that lost very close loved ones this year, and they had to continue running their business. I know people that got information that they didn't want to hear this year and had to continue running their businesses. And that's the glamour and glit that isn't as glamorous, you know? Like, what does Eric Thomas say? He says, everybody wants to be a beast until it's time to do what beasts do. You know, in the glamour and glit, it's like, oh, something hard happened and they're unfazed and they're not feeling it and they're immune. But the reality is we get heartbroken too. We hurt too. And we cry too. The only difference is we do what we have to do despite the emotional turmoil that we might feel in the moment. And that, ladies and gentlemen, was encouraging to me. And I hope is encouraging to anyone else that had a 2023 that could make you say, woe is me, like a 2023 of woe is me, but you got it done. Sven, as we pass to you, definitely let us know how you've grown as an executive business leader and overall business owner in 2023.
I got to unmute myself there. Yeah, thank you, Bobby, and those are great stories there, doctors. That's a really inspiration, and congratulations. So I admire that. I haven't been through that myself, but I think it's much harder than anything I've ever done. So that's a good one. So I'll say that I've been sort of around the entrepreneurial journey many times, but different years of my life are more influential or impactful, and 2023 didn't disappoint. It's been a roller coaster. I've been up and down and up, and I started out the year with a very exciting thing. I was in an acquisition, perfect fit for myself. I jumped into the business, ran it successfully, put my heart and soul in it, working the long hours, up at 5 a.m. every day to drive 2 hours to go to work and come home late, and it went great. Then in the middle part of the year, I had a partnership dissolve on that business in an abrupt way, and that was a real, crash. And it was a little bit of a, hey, you gotta pick yourself back up and go again. And to just kind of illustrate it, I've got 3 little kids at home, and if you ask any one of them, you say, "What do you do when you get knocked down?" All 3 of them will say, "Get back up." So that's a lesson I've had to learn a few times in my life, and I think it's a good one. It's not an easy one, but it's one you gotta do a few times just to kind of prove to yourself that you can do it, because life will knock you down sooner or later, and you got to be able to get back up. And the rest of this, the last part of the year has been fantastic. There's been a real a mental shift of my own to go from kind of running one business or running my own business and kind of focusing on myself to thinking in a broader way and trying to benefit other people and myself at the same time as a team to kind of extend the entrepreneurial group. And I've actually, speaking of that, started an organization called Deal Team USA, and I've talked to Bobby about being part of that. And the whole part of that is to create a group of people that can succeed together. And I think that's been a real shift in my life. I've always been sort of a solo guy, try to do it all myself. But I think if you have the right people on your team and you work together in a way, you can get to places that you can't get all by yourself. So for anybody on the entrepreneurial journey, I just say, be humble enough to learn from other people and try to surround yourself with people that fill in the voids in your knowledge, skill, or experience so that you can advance together and get places that you can't get on your own.
Wow. Wonderful. And with that piece, I think it's really insightful to understand that business cycles are real. They're real things. Like, you will be up in business and you will be down in business. And that's why CFOs can be so instrumental. Like, I've seen multiple clients this year that really took some interesting financial turns, myself included. And as we are dealing and experiencing the business cycle and the economy as a whole, because the financial institutions right now, as interest rates are skyrocketing, is a very interesting landscape. So that was just definitely a story of riding the wave and riding it out, because sometimes that's what it takes. It takes finishing. You're up, great. You're down, great. Okay, great. Ride it out. So thanks for that, Sven. Paul, what say ye from your side of the house?
So, basically, I believe that clarity and focus produces better results. So sometimes, and I'm glad Dr. Croom brought it up as far as like the core values and mission, because that's extremely important. So what I had to do was I had to start taking my own advice. So I had to get back to the basics with my operation. So what I did was I had to get more clear on my vision, my mission, and my core values. Because if you're bringing new people into your organization, you need to have a clear vision and mission and core values, because if you don't, it makes it difficult for people to understand your direction and your purpose and where you're going with the organization. So I like to tell all of my clients that, and it's sometimes like these are, clients that's making good money, but sometimes they get confused and their team doesn't understand what the vision is. So they get lost in the business. So you have to be like crystal clear on, what you're trying to accomplish, what the mission is, and basically what you stand for in your organization. That would allow you to produce better results. So, what I had to do was, like I said, I had to take a step back and I had to take my own advice, and I had to put these things in place before I could even move forward and start just, focusing on my target market and my message. Like, some businesses, they skip steps. They just want to jump into who their target market is and their message when they're really not clear on their vision, mission, and their core values. So, that's basically, over the last year, that's what I've been focusing on, just having more clarity and focus in my business.
Man, that was a jewel. We've all dropped jewels this morning, but one thing that I wrote down is brilliance in the basics. You guys, I'm taking notes, by the way. Like, I'm over here. I'm not letting this panel go to waste. Best believe you me. So with that being said, please, ladies and gentlemen, as I put up banners and whatnot, go ahead and copy these informations down, screenshot it, and get it in, because There's some amazing things going on. But what I wrote down was brilliance in the basics. Brilliance in the basics. Because in the military, that's something that we're taught. We're taught to do a thing over and over and over until you don't have to think about doing it. And then when you think you forgot about how to do it over and over again, we remind you how to do it over and over again. So you don't forget it. And that's good business. That's good business. My coach put it to me like this. He said, a pilot has a great flight when it's a boring flight. A pilot doesn't want to be up there trying to figure out and all this other stuff and flying 90-degree angles. No. He wants to fall asleep, let the co-pilot wake him up. That's a good flight. And what that looks like in business is boring days that lead to exciting results. And by boring days, I mean groundhog days. You wake up, you hit it, you quit, you don't quit it. Wake up, hit it, never quit it. And you just do that for 365 days. And what you will have in the end of the year is results, period, results. So for me, how I grew most as a leader, as a business owner and executive would be realizing and coming intimately close with the reality that success does not care about my excuses. It just does not care. Like if I don't get up, it doesn't care. You get what you give. And oftentimes you get the Pareto principle, meaning if you give, say, 20% of hard, charged, excellent work, you'll get this 80% return. Like it's a really nice big return. But the same is true if you slack off and you do 20% of the work, you get these windfall, compounding, negative, so to speak, results that really just devastate you and your business. So for me, I just really learned in my family, in my business, and in my personal life that there is no excuse that will justify inaction. So get it done. Just get it done. And that was the big one for me. So as I roll into the next question that I have for the panel, and I figure out how exactly we're going to get the different links up, because I'm getting links coming in on the back end, guys, and I want to make sure I get them all to you. So really quickly, if you have links and you're on the panel, I'm talking to the panel at this moment, please take your phones and put the link in the chat online so that I can share it on the screen, because it doesn't look like I can share it from the private back office. And again, guys, this is all real time. It's live. I didn't script this. This is in real time. So thank you guys for being patient with us as I'm figuring out exactly how to get the links up, because what they're doing is absolutely phenomenal. But as we get this figured out and I start sharing different links, again, take screenshots so that you can type the links in, or the reason I had them put it in the comment section is so you can click on it. So you don't have to look at it and try to copy it down into a browser. You can actually go to the comment section and click on the link, which will make it a lot less user prone to error. So with that being said, what would you consider your biggest success in 2023 and your biggest blunder? So I'm going to give this one to the panel, starting with Dr. Croom. But what was your biggest success in 2023? And what would you consider one of your biggest blunders of 2023?
All right, I'll take that one away. So 2023, I would say my biggest success was the exciting expansion of my video veterinary appointments. Now you're like, why is this woman getting so excited about seeing animals on the video? Okay, I'll tell you why. It's been decades, and telemedicine has been the norm on the human side of the house. Like, right, we do some visits, we see our doctor, we can talk. Part of that might be because we can talk. Now, my furry patients, it's a little different getting the information out of them. So being able to do the virtual visits, I started that before COVID. It didn't really take off. COVID hit and it was like, bam, we can't see anybody. What are we going to do? My system was already set up. Sure, it was fledgling, but I was able to move right in and to start marketing and letting people know that here in Michigan, we are able to do virtual visits, look at the animal, do a prescription. Some states do not allow that. They require you to put your hands on immediately. Now, of course, we want to eventually put our hands on every pet. But think about those folks out in the rural areas. Think about those folks that are maybe a disabled veteran like myself, or maybe the pet itself is disabled. This allows the convenience, and it allows me to do that compassion. I told you one of my core values is compassion. So to be able to help a fellow disabled veteran, or someone whose pet is a senior pet and is difficult to get around, I love the fact that I could expand my video vet appointments. And then to make that even better, you see the link I just put in the chat for my upcoming Future Vet program on the 27th. That program is going to allow future vet interns. Now, these can be pre-veterinary, they can be undergrad, and they can even be as young as fifth grade, because you got to get the students quickly. So I'm excited that in 2023, I was able to bring in my first interns who were undergrad students at the University of Michigan, and they had a lot of difficulty finding um, opportunities, in-person opportunities. And if you think about it, if you have 50 kids in a town that, are looking to be a veterinarian, right? Everybody wants to be a vet at some point, even if it's just one day when you're a youth. And then all the vet clinics, they just can't accommodate all of that. So I definitely was hearing from, especially some of my young African-American female pre-veterinary students were like, we just can't find anything. So this allows me to take students that are in different cities, in different states, and eventually other countries, to receive that mentorship, join me on actual of video appointments with clients and patients. So that's what I'm excited about for 2023, and that's going to just go amazing in 2024. Now, on the other side of the house, biggest blunder, I'll make it quick. I'll make it real. I'm going to keep it honest, okay? I utilized a new financial technique. Well, not new, but new to me, where I was really flexing and using my business credit, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. Once you become an entrepreneur, you understand that credit and credit cards is not just a bad word. It's something that you can actually use and leverage in your business. Now, the blunder that I made was not being extremely organized on my follow up with those accounts, right? So, like I said, we're keeping it honest here. We're keeping it real, okay? So I wasn't as organized as I should be, and some stuff kind of got a little behind. Nothing major, we're still here, okay? The lights are still on, and it's definitely just something that I want to put out there to people, because I have seen a lot about this, leveraging the credit in different ways for business, and it's a great technique. But just make sure that you're organized with the payment dates and things like that, so that you don't get into any little hiccups there. So that's my 5 cents for 2023.
Wow. That's phenomenal, guys. And I don't know if that was an alley-oop for me, but I'm gonna take it. That's why you need a CFO, guys. That's why you need one. when anything gets tough on the finance side, I was definitely called in, and I felt that I was able to do some of my best work in that space. Like, hey, Mr. Jackson, this is the situation, fix it. All right. And we got to work. So I remember we had some early mornings. Boy, man, we had some 3 a.m. mornings that went until like 7-10 o'clock as we were ironing it out, fixing it up, ironing it out, fixing it up. And that's what it's all about. And it's not fixing it in a bad way. It's strategic. We were strategizing, we were executing, we were optimizing, we were maximizing, we were running a business. And that's what it's all about, running a business. And thank you for that transparency, Dr. C, and for the subtle, beautiful alley-oop off the glass, because I really enjoyed being there during that process. But all right, Michelle D. Clark, biggest, say, realization successfully in your business and blunder.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, Dr. Croom, thank you again for being so transparent. And we have to do that, right? It takes transparency in order to really gain that vision. And talking about vision, introspection was one thing that was a big success for me. So introspection in order to rise to meet my expectation. So meaning that I had to look within myself and look at my strengths, look at some of my needs, and look at some of the obstacles that I faced and overcame, and which ones that I still have to work to overcome. So really doing some introspection and the whole process of the breast cancer journey, having to do some introspection on what that all meant to me. And as a result of that, that is what, outside the birth of my children, the birth of Lift After Breast Cancer was the biggest thing that happened for me in 2023 for this year. So that was one of my biggest successes, is being able to have that realization and then actualize what I realized into an opportunity to reach back and help other women who have experienced breast cancer. So that would be my biggest success. I would say one of my biggest blunders is not documenting, right? Documentation beats conversation. So, not documenting the process while I was going through the process. So, on LinkedIn, I had the opportunity during Breast Cancer Awareness Month, which is October, to document my breast cancer journey. So, each and every day, all 31 days, I was able to document all the way from the beginning. So I was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2014. 2015 is when I had the initial mastectomy, right? And so I took a look all the way back then and started writing my story. So what I would say for you all is, when you're in it, it's more clear, it's clearer, and you can still hone in on those emotions that you're experiencing right at that time. Now, fortunately for me, being a mental health therapist, having a background in psychology, and having a master's in social work from University of Michigan, go blue. I heard that in there, Dr. Croom, go blue. So being able to have that, I was able to still tap into some of the emotional side and some of the psychological introspections that is necessary when you are journaling and chronicling your life story, your journey. So what I would recommend is, don't wait, do it in the moment. So the blunder was to not do it as it was happening. But the blessing is that I still have the recall and the ability to look at what happened and get it on paper. So do yourself a favor, get it on paper or on your computer, right? But document it so that way you can have those steps. And then you can even write your own story. You can write a book from that. And then it also makes it easier to pinpoint were some of the growth moments in your life, and where were some of the moments that needed growth. So that would be my biggest blunder, Bobby, is that I did not document as it was happening.
Wow. Wow. And I'd like to add some insight here as we're getting more and more comfortable, guys. We're about 40 minutes in, and we've still got a nice, good 45 minutes of just great conversation to have. But one thing that I'd like to just put out there for the speakers as I'm starting to feel the dynamic is, please feel free to talk to the audience. I've been feeling that more and more, that you guys have been talking to the audience. So I just want to encourage it. Like, they're listening for you. They're listening for you to tell them what you think they could be doing better or should be doing in respect to what you've done. No one, I don't think, is per se looking for criticism, but they are looking for direct insight. So please don't hold back as you're sharing your perspective. Let them know how they might be able to implement it in their own lives, because I do know that some people might not be where you're at just yet. They might, if they're not at the Michelle D. Clark space, they may be dealing with a defining moment that could be refining them. So please share with them what that refinement process can look like, and vice versa for every speaker here. And what I would say, as I took notes on what Michelle was saying, was, when you don't document things, you repeat them. It's almost like you did it once and you could have had it done and not had to do it again. You can systematize it like Paul might recommend. But if you don't document it, you don't have anything to systematize, and you might find yourself reworking things that you've already done, guys. And business is just like anything else. It's a time game. The more time you have doing things well, the better compounding results you get. The more time you spend starting over, the less compounding results you get. So it's really, really important to systematize and document. So thank you for that, Michelle. Sven, biggest success, biggest blunder.
Thank you, Bobby. And good stories there, ladies. That's really fantastic stuff. I'm going to start with my blunder, which is going to sound like a small one, but it manifested into a bigger result. early in my life, I was, as I said, an entrepreneur, and I was trying to do everything myself, and I thought I had all the answers. And I had, life, remind me that wasn't the case. And for most of my career, I've been better at learning from other people's experience and taking their advice. And I say that to say, when I came into acquisitions, the transition into acquiring companies rather than starting them, I was fortunate enough to find an advisor who was very experienced in that field, and I was smart enough to take up his advice. And that all sounds good. And for the most part, I followed his advice in the screening and the acquisition of that company that I mentioned that fell apart. But there was a few key pieces where I didn't follow his advice, and I knew it at the time, and I thought I could figure out the rest on my own. And I sort of went awry of his instruction and teaching in a few areas that at the time it didn't seem like that big a deal. And I said, well, I can figure that out later or modify it or whatever. And turned out that that wasn't the case. So I got focused on one deal, and I kind of forced it to happen. And I sowed some seeds at the beginning that I didn't realize were going to come back to haunt me later. But the real mistake was I wasn't humble enough to follow my mentor's advice all the way through. I was doing something I had never done before, and I was smart enough to get an advisor, and I followed probably 80% of the advice, but a couple of key pieces I didn't. I went off the rails, and I spent a year learning a lesson the hard way that, you're better off to learn from people that have done this before, made the mistakes, have the scars to prove it, and save yourself, that lesson. So that was a blunder, and it kind of manifested itself into a learning experience that I'll never forget, but a year that, I would trade for something else if I went back and did it again by being more careful to follow, somebody's instructions that has never been wrong. They've everything they've told me has been perfectly correct. So I had really no reason to vary from what they were telling, and I sort of fell back in my old ways to be a little bit relied too much on myself and doing something I didn't know how to do. So that was a blunder, and that was a tough lesson. The success I've had has been sort of a mental shift, as I mentioned earlier, from being focused on me being a sole entrepreneur. And they say, there is a sole proprietor. That's a business classification. You can be a sole proprietor, and to a certain extent, that's an accurate description. And to a certain extent, it's a misnomer, because nobody really acts completely in a vacuum as a sole person. And this year, I've transitioned into assisting other people be successful at entrepreneurship. And that's not something that I've done a lot of over my career. I've been mostly focused on myself, but I have said that it's been a very, very successful thing recently. And I've met some very good people, and it's been very rewarding to help them take a few steps forward and to achieve some things that they wouldn't achieve on their own. And that's been a very, personally, a very rewarding thing to do.
Wow. God, I hope y'all were taking notes. Like, if you're watching this, hashtag live. If you're catching this on the replay, hashtag replay. If you have not shared this out, share this out. Share this out, because 2024 is here. It's here. And a lot of individuals need this advice. They need to know you can suffer and struggle and still be a successful entrepreneur.